Feeling overwhelmed? Searching for someone who truly gets it? At J. Branch and Associates, we provide mental health support for BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and others facing unique challenges. We understand the weight of generational trauma, the struggles of identity, and the pressures of being a part of an underestimated and overlooked group. At J. Branch and Associates, therapy isn't a one-size-fits-all. We create a safe, culturally aware space where you can feel seen, heard, and understood. Finding a therapist who truly fits you matters, and that's exactly what we're here for. Our team of highly trained licensed therapists bring compassion, empathy, and real-world experience to help you on your journey to healing and growth. We're committed to helping you become the best version of yourself. Ready to take the next step? Visit us at www.drjbranch.com for more information, or call or text 404-436-2540 to schedule your free 15-minute consultation. You can also book your first session today. Thank you for choosing J. Branch and Associates, therapists of color providing exceptional care to BIPOC communities, quality service, exceptional care from authentic professionals.
Three parallels. Yeah. Three parallels. Yeah. Three parallels.
Three Parallel Podcast. Come take this walk with me.
Welcome back to the Three Parallels Podcast with your host, the Dr. Jason Branch, where we discover who we were, who we are, and who we are becoming. And today's guest, y'all better buckle up, Buttercup, because this guest is, I consider family. And y'all know when I bring family on, we have a good time. And when I think about family, these could be people that's related to me, not related to me. I just consider them as family. So you get to decide, are they related to me or are they not? But the reality is, does it really matter? Let's dive in. So who I'm bringing you on today, this is Amy, Rosa. Now, I got to tell you the story of how we met. So this was during the spring, 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it had to be this year, where I was at work, but not at work physically because I work virtually. And I think it was like a Friday. I'm at the dentist office in the parking lot feeling myself. Because I had my glasses on, my hat. I just finished my checkup. My dentist said my teeth look phenomenal. That's a big deal for me because majority of my life, my dentist said your teeth look a mess. So I was already in a space of growth and change. And then I reached out to Amy at Motivo because I was interested in bringing Motivo into the university I work at to help graduate students, many of the listeners. And I hopped on the call, feeling myself, glasses on and all, having a conversation with Amy, and she accepted me for who I was and what I brought to the table. And there was just this kinetic energy that we had, the smile, her personality, her energy, her heart, her vibe. I just felt all of it. And I just felt from that moment, I got a friend for life. So now you all can have a friend for life because I want to introduce you to the one and only Amy Rosa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Branch. That is an incredible introduction. And I have to say, your memory is spot on. That's exactly what happened. I remember the second you said hi, it was like an energy that we just were part of the same like life path or something.
Yes.
So yeah, fast forward 6 months later, stoked to be sitting here with you today. And let's talk about life.
I love it. I love it. Now, Amy is the Senior Director of Enterprise Accounts at Motivo, which is a mouthful. Amy's a big deal. I need y'all to know this is, y'all dealing with a big deal. Now, before you became that, because this is who you are now, before you got here, I'm curious, the listeners are curious, who were you before this?
Yeah, before this role. Oh my gosh. I feel like it took me a while to get here, Dr. Branch. I don't want to age myself, but I'm kind of halfway through my life and who I was before.
Time out. Now, halfway through your life, do you know your death date?
I know, touche. I think, you're just like, you're kind of in this reflective period of life, right? How did I get here? What were some of the things that these like milestone markers that led me to the role that I'm at now? And I do have to say professionally, what I do every single day, I adore. I feel like I found like my zone of genius where it's like every project or task or interaction I have it just feels like I'm exactly where I should be. Like the energy alone in my day is like my cup is overflowing. So I have to just be
Wow.
so grateful that Motivo created the space for me to really thrive and shine. But it hasn't always been like this, Dr. Branch.
Mm.
Like if I would take, let me take you back to who
Let's go.
Amy
We here.
was.
That's why we here. That's why we here.
Uh,
Let's go back.
yeah, starting with, I think, let me just share a little bit of my story. Born in the Midwest, pretty sheltered life. I went to Catholic school for the first 12 grades. And then I went to college, and I remember one of my first interactions, we were talking about like the sign of the cross. And like someone didn't know what that was. And I was like, how do you not know what the sign of the cross was? Right. And it was like this
Mhm.
reality of, oh my gosh, I've lived like a pretty, small community, suburbs of St. Louis. I'm like, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
And so I went on this quest, and I'm like, how, a lot of my friends after college were like settling down and getting married. And I'm like, I'm really just not in that place. So
Yeah.
I'm going to hop in my car and I'm going to go east. And I landed in
Wow.
Boston, Massachusetts.
Wow. What, just random? Did you have an idea, goal, or you just went? Like,
It's so funny, honestly. I mean, I can't believe I'm gonna admit this. Armageddon had come out like a year before, and I love Ben Affleck, and I knew that was from where he was from. And I'm like, I am going to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I am going to find Ben Affleck. So,
wow.
yeah. So
Wow.
broke out of my comfort zone, headed to Boston, knew one person that I had met at a summer camp the summer before we moved in together, and I lived there for a couple years. And that was my first, like, I like this feeling, right? Like meeting people, having diversity, like not back home, I could call up anybody anytime. And here I'm in this, it's me figuring out this world, And so I was
Yeah.
able to create a pretty incredible community and did that for a couple years and started teaching special ed. So this is kind of like I'll interwove my personal and professional life because I feel like it's kind of key to how I found where I'm here now. And so worked in special ed, had an undergrad in psychology, so it was definitely kind of dabbling in what I thought I wanted to do professionally. And then lasted my first nor'easter in New England, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna head west. It's way too cold here. My sister was doing the Hollywood thing in LA. And I'm like, let me hop in my car and head west. And so I did that and kind of didn't have a linear career professionally. Kind of, gained some skills in each role that I did. I dabbled in insurance, dabbled in marketing, kind of entered the startup world, which is definitely my wheelhouse, and took some skills that led me to where I am today.
Wow. Wow. There's a lot to unpack here.
I know. Sorry, that's the condensed version.
No, no apologies needed. We don't apologize on this show. We do not apologize for being who we are. Okay. I'm not allowing it. So you can apologize off this show, but on this show, we're not doing it. So a couple things. Number one, Ben Affleck is single now. So there's that.
Sorry.
There's that. It's never too late. It's never too late. Just my humble opinion. So that's first. The second, this nomad. It's a nomad lifestyle, what I heard, but
Yeah.
it's a nomad in a very different way. And when I think about nomad, it's someone who wanders intentionally based off of what they feel. So it's not
Mm,
just I'm not just out here doing whatever. No, I feel moved to be, to go, to do, and you did that. So I'm curious, especially with your background, how did you develop this mindset of I'm just gonna go and figure it out?
yeah. I don't know if I developed it. I think it was always innate. Like I just
Mm,
remember even younger, like, I wanted to go to school out of state, but oh, my parents like, oh, you don't know what you want to do career-wise, or I wanted to study abroad. It felt like just my environment felt limiting, not intentionally,
mm.
but just, my parents raised me the way that they were raised, right? And so I
Mm,
think innately there was just this like, I know there's so much more out there. I would literally get inspired by all we call them cheesy quotes and sayings. And I would just buy quote books and like just like read them and feel like goosebumps over these like inspirational sayings. And so I think, I feel like there's always something you want to do something and something pushes you. And so sure enough, I was dating somebody out of school and his brother had just turned 18 and committed
mm,
suicide 2 days after his birthday. And so
wow.
that was the life short. I got to make it
Mm,
happen. And so that's
wow.
why, yeah, I had it.
Wow. That's incredible. And thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you
Yeah.
for your authenticity. Thank you for sharing your story. Like this is incredible. And we're just at the, I think we're at the beginning. We're only 12 minutes in. So
Yeah.
so like that epiphany, it sounds like where it was under the surface this whole time, but there
Yeah.
were life moments that happened that allowed you to decide, I'm gonna bet on me. I'm gonna try some things. And it sounds like it's been trial and error ever since you left.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But that's part of the journey, right? That's the fun. If it was
Hmm.
all mapped out for you, I guess I just, yeah, I like to push the limits and venture into the unknown.
So That's not normal. Like, Amy, I know you're just saying it like, yeah, that's not the norm from my humble experience. No, just like think about the opposite for you.
Yeah.
Sign of the cross. That's the norm, right? And then you go to
Yeah.
college and you discover, what do you mean you don't know this? So
Yeah.
you live a life that you're so aware of and you're aware of yourself and it's such your norm. It's not considering the majority. And this is my opinion. This is my perspective. I don't know for sure. Like, it's not a fact, but I've met a lot of people in life. I teach, I'm a therapist, I do a lot of different things, and I meet a lot of different people, and they don't have what you have.
Wow.
They don't. They don't. So they're trying to get what you have, because think about it. And this is for a lot of listeners. What you shared earlier related to what you could have done, go to school, get the degree, get married, have kids, blah, 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 blah. You didn't do any of that. You decided, I'm going to Boston. I'm trying to find Ben. Where Ben? Nobody's doing that, Amy. Nobody is doing that. I need you to know that. Nobody did that. I watched the movie too. I didn't go find nobody. I just watched the movie.
Sure.
So you are living life, in my opinion, exceptionally, because you're living life on your own terms.
Wow.
That's not the norm. So how did you develop this identity of, I'm going to do what I choose? Also, you mentioned your sister in LA. You can talk about that too, because it sounds like both of y'all don't mind living your best life.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that funny? I know. I guess maybe our parents did always teach us we could do whatever we wanted to do. I think it was just you look at, I don't know if you've read that book, The Five People You Meet in Heaven, but I feel like there were people that said one sentence to me and it helped, kind of change my path forever. And an example would be my sister moved out here. She was living in, on Hollywood. I remember coming to visit, and Hollywood isn't as nice as you think it is. But let's glam.
A true
She's
story.
living in, yeah, this like,
Hold on,
shoddy apartment.
quick pause, real quick. We
Yeah.
gotta go here. We gotta go here. So when we go to these different places, we're on a journey, we're on a path. But when
Yeah.
we go to these different places, we gotta hop on off the exit for a moment. It's a rest stop. So we're
Yeah.
gonna hop off at this rest stop and talk about this moment. And that moment, and because I feel as though this connection, let me slow down. I'm getting so excited. This connection that you and I have. Now, to the listeners, Amy and I has never met in person, never touched each other's skin, never breathed the same air. But I feel like this is family. Like, whenever we do get together, it's going to be a time, because we have a time virtually. Anyway, you and I both have that lived experience of being from the Midwest, going to Hollywood, literally, and then figuring out it's nothing of what it's painted out to be. So while we're at this rest stop, could you share your experience of recognizing what things are versus what you thought they were going to be related to Hollywood?
Oh yeah. I thought my sister, I see her the way what inspired me to go was I was literally watching a season finale and she was the makeup artist. And I thought I was going to get to Hollywood and it would be just like shiny buildings and everything was clean. And, it's just like this, like you're treated like a movie star. And, I get there and she's literally living in this like beat up apartment, super close to Hollywood Boulevard, which tend to, ladies of the night, like I just feel like it's not the cleanest. And so I get there and I'm like, man, coming from, the Midwest, only seeing Hollywood on TV, it seems like it's such a shiny place, for lack of a better word, and it's anything but. And so, yeah, when I get there, I did some background work and I remember just being like, man, I really want to come here permanently. So I did like a sidestep to Hollywood, went home, and then her roommate at the time was like, well, Amy, why can't you? And I was like, why can't I move to California? I mean, it costs so much money. How am I going to get there? And it was this one thing like, why not you, Amy? And I was like, why not me?
Ooh, bars. Are y'all getting this? Are y'all
Right?
getting this? Why not me? So
Why
to the
not me?
listeners, ask yourself the same question.
Yeah.
Why not me? Because Amy, you now serve as that old roommate to the listeners.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, I have goosebumps.
Yes,
so
that's what
right.
just happened.
Yeah.
That's what just happened, because you asked the question and you gave people permission to do something they want to do, but fear or beliefs prevent them from doing it.
Yeah,
Told
absolutely.
you. I
You're
told you it was
right.
the gym. I told you was the shit. You're gonna believe me one day. You're gonna believe me.
Oh, Dr. Brand, thank you.
So off the exit, back on the journey. So
Okay.
that journey with your sister, she's doing all these big things, but when you got there, you recognize like this is not as pretty as y'all make it to be. And even then, you still decided, I could do this. I could do California. So tell us more about that experience, that
Yeah.
transition.
So, I mean, luckily, when I came to California, I had met somebody in Boston that was living there. And I mean, honestly, once I got here, it wasn't glitz and glamour. I did background work for a little bit, got 2 of my 3 SAG vouchers, which is apparently a big deal. You get 3 and
Oh,
then you can apply for a
hold
SAG.
listen. Amy, I told you, Amy. Oh my God. I'm so excited. So, Amy, you gotta slow down because the listeners and myself don't know about this world, this culture, the SAG culture, and this award. Like, if you could break that down to us to educate us
Yeah.
about this world, because a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, when you're doing background work or extra work, these are the people that when you're watching TV, you see them like walking around in the background. And so there was an agency called Central Casting. You can basically, if you meet the parameters, like sometimes it's like, oh, we're looking for women ages, I don't know, 20 to 40 to play this role. You get picked, you go on set. And then if you, for instance, I was a stand-in. So basically it means when your main actor steps out, they have a stand-in come in to like adjust for lighting. And so because I was picked to be a stand-in at the show twice in a row, you get a SAG voucher each time you're a stand-in. And the thought is once you get
real quick, SAG. What is SAG? Again, to the listeners, we don't
Yeah.
know. So what is SAG? What
I
does it
know,
mean?
good
What is it
call. Yeah,
about?
I guess it's a union for actors to join, and it's a decent amount of money. But then once you join, you get paid a little bit more because you're part of a union. You get insurance benefits. So it was like a big deal once you become SAG because then you just have more opportunities that you can apply
I
for.
see.
Yeah.
Thank you for breaking it down. Again, you live this life. We don't. So we
Yeah.
don't, we don't know it. We don't know it. So are you saying you're a SAG actor right now?
No, so I basically in a couple months I got these vouchers, but then decided, I don't acting isn't for me. And I believe it or not, Dr. Branch, I went into the most boring career, insurance. Is that crazy to pivot like that?
So you went from Hollywood to Affleck. Is that what you're telling me? You was really on
Close.
being. Like you've
Close.
been on being for a long time. Like you even went to the insurance because of his last name. I mean, it's not the same, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
Amy,
I know, right?
listen, this might be your time. Like now, this season, telling you, he's on the market.
Oh, you're so great. Yes, Ben definitely is interwoven throughout my journey for sure.
I love it. I love all of this. All of this. Keep going. So you went to insurance from acting.
Yeah, so crazy. And I was a claims adjuster. And honestly, I probably would do really well in the corporate world because I feel like there's a formula that you follow and there's a hierarchy. And, if you perform well, you get a promotion. And
Quick,
you climb
quick
in the
pause.
ladder.
Quick
Yeah.
pause. Oh, because you're dropping so much. Real quick. To the
Yeah.
listeners, this is why you need your journal. Okay. Get your scales journal, get your journal out. Amy is dropping gems. She's dropping nuggets. She's hitting you in the head with a honey bun. I need y'all to take these notes because we're finna go off on another exit again. And this exit talks about corporate structure, corporate America. So if you could share that system that you developed, because again, a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people work corporate listening to this and still don't know. So if you could share what you discovered from the work that you were doing to help the listeners navigate those spaces or decide to go or leave those spaces based off of your lived experience.
Gosh, I love that. Yeah, so basically I just stumbled upon this role. It's called the claims adjuster, and it was through Mercury Insurance, not AFEC. Shout out to Mercury. And so, you start entry level with a college degree. And to me, it felt like with a corporate structure, they already have a model in place, right? Like they do the numbers, data, stats, they have an incredible training in place. And so they take the time to really invest in your training. And then you start the role. And then as you become successful in that role, more opportunities of growth within the organization starts to appear. So you apply for those roles to kind of basically in 2.5 years, I was at 3 different roles that continued to climb to make me closer to like leadership or management.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, of course, with new promotions comes, more money. And it felt like that path was already laid out for me. And remember, Dr. Branch, I'm not one who likes to conform, right? I don't like consistency.
Yes.
And so I did not survive longer than I think I was nearing my 3-year mark. And I'm like, I don't see myself growing in this field. And so I want to pivot.
So let me ask, because now we're going to get back on the interstate. I love these exits.
I love how you navigate those.
So let me ask, does this mean, I'm curious because I'm noticing a pattern. Does this mean about every 3 to 4 years you transition?
I do, but I don't think I really realized that until you just brought that up.
Oh, we in the basement now. We in the basement. So I love the basement. Let me explain. So to my new listeners, people who are just joining, I have to break down some of the concepts that we talk about because we speak a different language on this podcast. But anybody who listens, anybody that's connected, they know the language. It's a culture, it's a community. So if you hear somebody say you got hit in the head with a honey bun, you know where it came from because nobody's saying that. So the basement, same deal. If you hear that, you know where it came from. So I look at us as people, as human beings, as a house. Everyone has a house. It's a house. I don't care if you're a twin, you still got a different house. It's designed differently inside and outside. And there's 3 major levels to every house. Number 1, the top level is the attic. The attic is nice. It's comfortable. It's beautiful. You got Basquiat on the wall, Picasso. You got a wine bar. It's beautiful. It's plush. California king size bed, 2 of them put together, and it's just you. I mean, comfort, right? And then the second floor, second level, you got the living room. The living room, nice. Not as nice as the attic, but it's nice. You on the couch, kick back, shoes off, socks off, rubbing them toes together, watching your favorite TV show or movie. And then you have the basement. The basement is usually padlocked. It's locked up because we don't spend a lot of time in the basement. And the basement is dark, it's musty, it's sweaty, it's stinky. We don't go down there. It's spider webs, it's boxes, it's dust. We don't spend a lot of time in the basement. Now, that's the figurative idea. Literal, we can connect the dots as well, but let's go to the heart. And the heart is in the basement. That's the emotion. That's the trauma. That's the drama. That's the things that we don't know about that's been sitting hidden in plain sight. The living room is your present, is how we live. It's our most organic and authentic space. And then the attic is your head. That's why it's so comfortable because you spend so much time there. So what you didn't know that I saw was the basement every 4 years. The reason I'm able to see it because I'm the same way.
Wow.
I've never worked a job over 3 years until never.
Wow.
True story. 3 to 4 years is mine as well. That's why I saw it for you because mine's the same thing. Again, I told you we family. So this trajectory of every 3 to 4 years, my belief is because we get bored or we outgrow people, places, and things. So now that you got some context to your truth, because I'm just picking up what you're putting down, this transition every 3 to 4 years, if you could share more with us about that and what was it like for you? Because this is my assumption, I don't know, but what was it like for you to have these experiences and then 3 to 4 years, it's a totally different experience.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You are spot on. I guess I look at it as you said, like, there's no more growth in this. Like, I felt sad to me. Like, I was helping people who had been in car accidents, like they much needed help, but it didn't fill my cup. I didn't feel energized by it because I'm an empath. So I felt drained by that. And so I'm like, I want to be in a role where I can be creative and I can be around energies. And so of course I pivoted to marketing. And marketing, especially in Los Angeles, we had, Butterfinger was our main account. And so I'm like on, back to full circle, I'm on like sets, like doing like digital campaigns with like, Lou Ferrigno and Eric Estrada, and so it felt like it was fun and exciting to me. And so that is when I feel like I'm at I shine, right? I'm at my true authentic self.
So the creative spaces that give you a chance to just be fluid and flexible and free. Okay.
Yes.
I see.
Absolutely.
So, and you said something else again. We're on a journey now. We're not even taking exits. We're just gonna put it all together, okay? Because we ain't got time to get off. So we just gonna keep going. You mentioned being an empath.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
What is it? And I'm gonna be ignorant for this, right?
Yeah.
What is an empath? And you said it because you know who you are. And I just discovered being an empath about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
So if you could share with me, share with the listeners, what does that mean? What does that look like? What does it mean to be an empath?
Yeah, great question. You're right. You're right. It's an empath means you can feel other energies. And so I typically, and I'm not quite sure if this is innate or if this is learned too, but yeah, I can go into a room and I can sense if somebody's already been in an argument and I see them, I can sense, ooh, something's upsetting this person. Or it's like for better or for worse, I can feel the energy of any room, any person. And so but it's called like building armor to protect yourself sometime in that energy because you'll go to take it on. And this is not my energy. This is somebody else's energy. I need to build a shield to protect myself.
So how did you discover this about yourself? And now it sounds like you're mastering living life as an empath. How did you discover it? And how did you get to this level of mastery?
Yeah, great question. So, Dr. Branch, this is where we're going to pivot, but it's the
Okay.
journey that built me. Do you want to
Okay.
go there?
What? I live in the basement. What are we talking about? What are you talking about? I live here. Let's go.
Okay, we're gonna get there anyway, but ultimately, I truly believe everybody is here to learn a lesson, right? It could be one lesson, multiple lessons. My kind of, and it's through a struggle that you learn this lesson. And so mine was through fertility. My husband and I really wanted to have a family, and especially being from the Midwest, we already talked about it. It felt like that was the playbook of life. And it's one guarantee: if you follow this playbook, you will, have your dreams come true. And so about a few years into being married and trying, it wasn't working. And so because it's one thing that you feel is guaranteed, you start to question everything, one being God, right? You know how I'm Catholic, it's all full circle. I'm like, how could God, knowing how important this is to me, not let this happen? And so then you start to tap into other things that start to bring meaning and the connectivity of the universe. And you start to tap into other things, like energies. And so that's when I started to realize, I started to dissect myself and why I respond certain ways, why I feel certain ways. And so that's how I came about really understanding who I am, what makes me tick, and also just kind of my approach in life.
Yeah. So thank you for your authenticity. I love when we're in the basement because that's how we grow.
Yeah.
Understand growth happens in the basement. So we can be in that basement intentionally. Like we chose to walk down these steps, take that padlock off. And sometimes we just end up being there because life situations happen. I'm
Yeah.
curious to know, like, did you have a coach, a shaman? Did you have a teacher? Who,
Oh,
who taught you about this life as an empath, or was it just all self-discovery?
yeah, great question. I mean, I honestly had a lot through the journey. I went to shamans in Arizona. I went to healers from Argentina. I even had somebody who cracked open cold cases from a psychic. She was a psychic who was through the
What?
FBI to open up cold cases.
What?
Yeah,
Amy, what?
I
Amy?
I did Kundalini yoga. Like I think it's all these trying to make sound baths, healing circles, like trying to make
Yeah.
sense of something that doesn't make sense.
Oh
And
my
so it
goodness.
wasn't like one thing that's like, oh, because of this, you're an empath. I remember going to the shaman in Arizona, and he's the one that taught me I need to put literally physical armor on to
Yeah.
protect myself from energies when I go to concerts or when I go to the mall. It's like,
Wow.
and so I've learned skills on how to kind of, uh, you know, adjust, but I love being an empath, Dr. Branch. I love it because my
Wow.
intuition
Wow.
is so strong because
Hmm.
I'm able to read those energies and feel situations.
You know what's wild? Oh my goodness. This is so wild. I'm an empath as well.
I totally
And I
believe that.
yeah, it's official. It's official. Again, we family, right? So I didn't know I was an empath my whole life until my wife allowed me to know that. Like, you're an empath, right? And I'm like, what's that? I didn't eat nothing bad. Is that a disease? Like, I didn't know. Like, am I growing an extra arm? I didn't know what an empath was. I'm thinking it's a trail in the forest. I just didn't know. Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
So when she told me about it, she said, "Yeah, you feel and absorb energy." And I said, "Yeah, how did you know?" And she's like, "Well, I mean, we are together, we are married. I see it." And she said, I'm an empath as well, but a different type because I didn't know there were different types of empaths. So her connection is to animals. So she connects really, really well with animals. So she can just see a lot of different things relate to animals, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. But mine relates to people. So
Yeah.
we have two different worlds, but we're both connected in as being empath because every empath has a different connection or line of what they feel, what they absorb. Because there are some that feel pain, there are some that feels that energy and that light, sickness, where somebody may be sick in their house and they end up being sick, and that's that
Mhm.
absorbing that energy. So when I discovered that was the plant, that was the seed planted for me from Mia, and once she told me, then I started to look into it myself. So for the listeners, many of you may be an empath and don't even know at all. So the first thing that I came across was number one, I was looking for empaths, people of color, black empaths. Didn't
Yeah.
find any from my research, which means I'm probably the person that's going to create that. And I'm speaking life into existence in real time. So I did connect with a woman, white woman, Judith Orloff, Dr. Judith Orloff. She's an empath specialist. She has an empath assessment. So I took the assessment, full blown empath. And I'm like, oh my God, this whole time. And then she has a book about for survivor's guide to being an empath, where she talks about same thing, the armor, protecting yourself, that ain't your business, all of that. So I learned skills from reading this book and diving into it, but I didn't know for 30 plus years that I had this gift and this ability. And
Yeah.
now I feel like I'm glad this conversation came up. I feel like there's so many of us who are empaths and have no idea it exists, the term, or anything about it. And that's why I'm saying you're at a level of mastery, because not only do you know you. You know what
Yeah.
works for you, you know what doesn't, you know what you need, and you allowed yourself to discover different people, places, and things to figure
Mhm.
Amy out. And to
Yeah.
the listeners, I challenge you to do the same thing. Sometimes you have to be willing to step outside your comfort zone to find what works for you, because a lot of things that we do don't work. We just don't know. Woo!
Woo! So powerful.
All day, all day. So if you are an empath, think you might be, I'm gonna give Judith Orloff a shout out, and you can be on the show, Judith, whenever you're ready. I'm ready for you. So, so go online, Google it, Judith Orloff empath assessment. Take the assessment and see where you are. Once you find out where you are, ooh, this is good. When you find out where you are, you find out what you need. When you discover who you are, you discover what you need.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave that on that. I'm gonna leave that right there. Okay. So let's get back to it. So this, it sounds like a holistic journey
Yeah.
with the sound bath and the yoga and this a spiritual journey as well. And I am curious, with this holistic journey, again, it's so different from religion. It's a spiritual journey. And
Yeah.
you mentioned your background was religion, and then you transition or pivoted to spiritual. So how do you navigate and manage those worlds? Because for a lot of people, it's Jesus or nothing. It's God or bust. It's whatever higher power or nothing at all. And
Yeah.
and what I've discovered, and it sounds like you discovered the same thing, you can have both. You
Yeah.
can manage both. You can do whatever you want. So
Yeah.
how do you navigate? How do you manage those worlds? And even being here with that experience, that lived experience you had, that you're still here, you're still pushing, you haven't given up.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, great question. I think because the Catholic piece was so part of like my fundamental upbringing, right? It wasn't like I chose, it was just, it is. And so I think
Mm.
because, there's a couple things, A, with the fertility stuff, and then B, I was with my dad when he passed, and my dad loved Jesus, like best friends.
Mm.
And it was
He got
they literally are hanging out, dancing, in
so
heaven.
so he had backstage patches on Earth. That's what
Oh
you're
yeah.
saying.
Oh, absolutely. He was front row at church, loudest one saying peace be with you. Like my dad, he was BFFs. And so I think when my dad passed, it was pretty traumatic. And I started to
Mm.
question, like, if God knows how much my dad loved him and let him die that way, then maybe there's another
Mm.
thing. Maybe I need to think beyond just religion. Like that's me being super vulnerable. I don't even think
I love
anybody
it.
knows that piece about
I
me.
love it. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that with us.
Yeah,
Man,
absolutely. Yeah.
Amy,
Ooh,
you
you
are a
create that
gem.
space.
You
Yeah.
are a
Thank
gem. Amy, you are a gem. Thank you so much for that.
you. Yeah.
So we're going to pivot. We're back on the journey. We're going to pivot a bit because we want to get into some rapid fire questions as
Yes.
we get ready to close out.
Oh
Because
no.
this is so much. It's so intense. I'm having you back. This is just
Yeah.
first season. I got your first season. I have you back for second season. It's already happening.
Thank you.
So, because you don't know how you impact people by sharing your truth, sharing your story. And before we transition, I want to put a bow on where we were. I appreciate you for being vulnerable. I appreciate you for trusting me in this process, because this has been a work in the making for at least 6 months. And now we're here. And now you're sharing yourself with us, with me. And I value that, and I appreciate it, and I respect it, because oftentimes we're not able to do that, or we choose not to. So
Yeah.
not only are you able, you choose to do it. And that means the world to me. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as we pivot, I'm curious. I am so curious. This is my hunger ground. I'm hunger for knowledge. And the knowledge is twofold. One question. Out of all these years, from Boston, St. Louis to Cali to all over, what would you say, and all the way to where you are now, who you are now, what would you say have you learned about people, and what have you learned about yourself?
Yeah, great question. I think what I learned about people was people will give advice based on their own experiences. And at the end of the day,
Oh,
really, yeah.
that's a bar. That's a bar. Listen, y'all just got hit in the head with a honey bun again. Could you break that down a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I learned this, I feel like you learn these lessons through experiences, obviously. And so I was engaged prior to marrying my husband. And I knew he wasn't the person I was supposed to be with forever, but
Ooh,
every
time, ooh,
single
time out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Amy, you don't know your greatness because
yeah,
the things that you're sharing of what you went through, someone is in it right now. Someone
yeah,
is about to marry someone they know right now. This ain't it, but they're doing it anyway because of culture, community, society, and everything else. And you're talking about, I was that person, but I overcame it. That's a
yeah.
big deal, Amy. And you're married now and still finna marry Ben Affleck. Like, come on. Do y'all see this? Make sure your husband don't listen until after you get married. It's big.
He knows, he knows.
Oh, he know. So he down for it. You good. You good. Tell him, hey, you better watch yourself because my boy is single again. But anyway, anyway, um, yeah, you say it because you've lived it. That's
Mhm.
why you can say it. There's
Yeah,
people currently living it or preparing to live it, what you've already went through. So I wanted to take a moment because I have to highlight the things that we don't pay attention to because we've gone through it. That was a long time ago.
yeah,
That was the old version of Amy. You're a different version now. You're a different person now. But that
yeah,
still happened. And that's what made you who you are. These experiences that we have, it's what propels us or haunts us because that's what the old version of us dies, right? That person is dead. And the only person that's left is the ghost. And that ghost is either going to haunt you or propel you. And it sounds like that experience you had propelled you to even consider doing it again. And now you're happily married and finna get married again. But that's right. That is growth. That is growth. And I wanted to take a moment on that because you had to become somebody else to get out of that when you recognize it didn't work for you.
yeah,
And
1,000%.
that is to be celebrated. Hats off,
Yeah.
flowers, roses, you can have them all.
Thank you. And I love that you brought up somebody else could be going through this right now, because what I want to share is not one person supported me in that decision. Everybody told me, Amy, relationships are about memories, challenges, struggles. All my family, all my friends, we were dating for 7 years, and like not one person, it felt in my mind, that was supportive of me kind of transitioning, out of the relationship. And I think my thought was I would rather be alone the rest of my life than get married to this person. And so I was like, it doesn't matter what anybody's telling me, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's living this life. But I just made the decision, and it was the best decision I ever made, because I found my husband who was exactly and so much more than somebody I thought could exist in this world and love me.
That's beautiful. Shout out to your husband. Shout out to your husband.
He's a
Big
great
shout
guy.
out.
He's a great guy.
Oh man, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And what did you learn about yourself? So that's about people, and I love that
Yes.
that thought because a lot of people, and this is again for the listeners, a lot of people. Before I got my PhD, I asked people about a PhD, and most of the negative things people said about a PhD came from people that didn't have one.
Mm,
So to
mm,
the listeners that want to get your PhD, stop talking to people that ain't got one. These are
yeah.
facts. So what did you learn?
I love it. Facts.
What
Hashtag
did you have facts all day? So what did you learn about you? I love what you shared about people. What did
yeah.
you learn about you? Because I'm hearing lessons of resilience. I'm hearing
Yeah.
a lot of resilience and growth and willingness to change. What did you learn about you from all of this?
I think just bet on yourself. Like I feel like there were times, especially in the fertility journey, that you kind of go in a very dark place because you don't understand why. And so I think like that is the journey that broke me, but it's also the journey that built me, because to see who I am on this side feels like a strong, capable, anything's possible woman, because I know I went through this journey and made it out on the other side better than I ever could have expected.
Look at that. So listen, for y'all in that horrible ass relationship, horrible marriage, get out of it. So find your way out.
I
I
love
mean
it.
it. Now, again, this podcast does not substitute therapy. Okay, it does not substitute couples counseling. It doesn't substitute real clinical work. Okay, yes, I'm a clinician, I'm a therapist, but I'm not your therapist unless I am, and even if I am, I can't confirm nor deny. So get you a therapist. Work with someone. Do not just divorce your husband and say, Dr. Branch told me I can do this. Don't do that, because I am not going to vouch for you, and they're not going to find me. So next question.
Love
Next
it.
question. I'm curious about Sheroes, alive or dead. Who is or was your hero?
Ooh, man, I love that. I feel like I have a few different heroes, but I think we'll go with my dad. He had passed, and it was one of those things where my dad had some health issues before I was even born. So he had a stroke and was paralyzed on his left side. And so
Mhm.
he like walked with a limp, and that was just my norm. And now looking back, how much adversity he had to overcome because of didn't have any functioning on his left side. And so he kind of compensated it by being the funniest person I ever knew, because he was
Mm.
always the one everybody was looking at, but everybody in the room knew him because he had a nickname for everybody. He was the funniest guy. He made everybody laugh. And so I think just always having that level of like, you just got to make, the best of the situation, because he was given kind of a very tough hand of cards and he dealt with it the best that he could. And it was through humor. And so to this
Powerful.
day, he's the funniest person I've ever met.
Powerful. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Amy. Thank you for sharing you with us. Like real talk. Thank you so much for that. I'm curious to know, is there a word, phrase, memory, or moment that has stuck with you personally or professionally you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah. Oh, can I do another story
Oh,
real quick?
all day. You know I love the basement. Let's get it.
Okay. So this is the lesson I learned, and I learned it early, and I do want to share it with everyone. And a lot of you may already know this. So I played soccer, basically from the time I was like 5. And so I got to freshman year, and our team was horrible. Horrible. But the varsity team was incredible. And so sophomore year tryouts, I had the opportunity to try out for varsity, and I was so intimidated. So I went to my coach and I was like, Coach, I'm like, can I please stay on the JV team? Even though we were losing every game, and even though I was captain and MVP, at that point, I didn't push myself or challenge myself to be with the people that I could learn most from. So my
Mm,
lesson in life is never settle and stay. Not that I was better than them, but a little bit more skilled than the people on JV. Always push yourself to be in a room with people that are smarter, wiser, more experienced, because those are the people that you can learn from.
I love it. I love it. Dropping gems, hitting you in the head with a honey bun. Next question. What's an interesting fact about yourself or something about you that people wouldn't believe?
Okay, I think this thumb right here, so this is my left thumb, it's
Uh-huh.
famous. In 2009,
Okay.
there was an e-reader that launched, and I was a thumb model. So this interesting fact, not a lot of people know my left thumb is famous.
Your left thumb is fat. This is good. This is so good. This is so good. Listen, listeners, right now, Amy and myself have a Chiquita banana or a Dole sticker on our forehead because we are organic. That is the most beautiful thing ever. Your thumb is famous. Like your thumb is
This is
a
my thumb.
SAG artist. Like it's a SAG actor.
Yes.
Like really, you still getting checks from your thumb. Okay.
So great.
Okay. Last thing, and this is your opportunity to give something to the listeners. I
Yeah.
call it life work.
Yeah.
So life work is a little different, well, a lot different from homework. Homework, you take it home, you do it, you turn it in, nothing happens, you never remember it. Life work, you take it home, you do it, your life will change.
Yeah.
So, Amy, if you could share something with the listeners related to a keepsake, life work, something that they can do now, what would that be?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I feel like the one thing that comes to mind, and it's mainly inspired by my current role, is finding your zone of genius. And
Mm,
so what that is it's basically things that you wake up and you can't wait to do in the morning. And I
mm,
think the goal is to really write out a list of things on a piece of paper that energize you and keep your cup full. Because the hope is if a majority of your day is filled with things that are in your zone of genius, it gives you energy to do the things that maybe don't keep your cup full. And as you start to lift your vibration and lift your energy, that's when you start to attract more incredible things. So my words of wisdom is to find things that are fall within your zone of genius, because that'll raise your energy and your vibration to attract even more greatness.
done. Done. Ooh, hashtag facts.
Love the circle backs. I love them.
Always, always. So, as we get ready to close out for the listeners, you have attracted a lot of people because of your energy. That's how you and I got together. That's how we friends for life. You can't do nothing about it. You stuck with me forever. So, and I'm gonna be at the other wedding too. Uh, me and your current husband. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Nice.
I can't help it. I'm silly. Like I've been this way my whole life. I'm just sharing it with you all. So, if people want to connect with you, how can they get in touch with you?
You're more than welcome to follow me on Instagram. It's Multipucciano. I'm a huge wine lover and I love multi-poo puppies. Yeah, but please
Mm.
feel free to reach out. Happy to continue the conversation and meet up for coffee too.
Wine and puppies. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. This just, there's so many levels. There's so many layers to all of us, but a lot of times we don't get to see them because we don't talk about them. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate you hopping on the podcast, being a guest to talk about them. And what you shared to me And to many of the listeners, it's life-changing information if you're paying attention, because you dropped a lot of breadcrumbs. And breadcrumbs are all around us all the time. We just don't see them. But when I become aware, I begin seeing things that's been hidden in plain sight. Again, that basement. So the more time I spend in the basement and allow myself to be in the basement, the more I'll see the breadcrumbs in the living room.
Yeah.
Bars. So if I start picking up those breadcrumbs, eventually I'm gonna get a loaf. And if I keep eating and picking up these loaves, I'm gonna end up sleeping in a Panera Bread. That's the bread factory because it don't run out. That's where I live at. But I was also told from a friend that you can go even further than Panera, because he saw himself in Paris with a baguette as big as the Eiffel Tower. That is growth. That's moving to a different level. And the deeper I go in my basement, the higher I go. And the higher I go, the more my perspective shifts or changes. So, Amy, what you're sharing is a perspective that a lot of people didn't even know existed. You are phenomenal. You are the shit. I'm telling you what I know, not what I heard. And I greatly appreciate you for taking a risk and deciding, I don't know what the hell gonna happen, but I trust Jason enough. I'm gonna do what I do. And you have been a blessing to me and everybody listening. And I thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for creating a space to just be 100% comfortable and being myself.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So you heard it here first. This is the first. She's coming back, season 2. So you heard it here first. Amy Rosa, a gem, a jewel, an empath, and now you all have access if you decide to pick up the breadcrumb. She shared her contact information. That's a breadcrumb. Boom. Honey bun. So this concludes our episode of the Three Parallels Podcast with your host, Dr. Jason Branch, where we discover who we were and create distance from that person, because that person is dead. Who you once were is now the walking dead. It's a zombie and going in any direction that you allow that person to go. The current you is where you are right now in the living room with them shoes and socks off, rubbing them toes together. Who you're trying to become is a better version of you that's outside the house, knocking on the door, waiting for you to let them in. Because once that better version of you comes in, a lot of things leave your house. So if this show has been a blessing to you, if you got something from it, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Give it away. My hope is that we can directly and indirectly impact 3 million people. That's the goal. That's my goal, which is our goal. If you're part of this, I'm creating a community and a culture. We speak a different language, and that language is love. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Peace.
Feeling overwhelmed? Searching for someone who truly gets it? At J. Branch & Associates, we provide mental health support for BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and others facing unique challenges. We understand the weight of generational trauma, the struggles of identity, and the pressures of being a part of an underestimated and overlooked group. At J. Branch & Associates, therapy isn't a one-size-fits-all. We create a safe, culturally aware space where you can feel seen, heard, and understood. Finding a therapist who truly fits you matters, and that's exactly what we're here for. Our team of highly trained licensed therapists bring compassion, empathy, and real-world experience to help you on your journey to healing and growth. We're committed to helping you become the best version of yourself. Ready to take the next step? Visit us at www.drjbranch.com for more information, or call or text 404-436-2540 to schedule your free 15-minute consultation. You can also book your first session today. Thank you for choosing J. Branch & Associates, therapists of color providing exceptional care to BIPOC communities, quality service, exceptional care from authentic professionals.